Okay, so hey guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here with the new video in the F1 Manager, Minardi Manager Career Mode. And now, just one thing I want to say quickly, if my voice does sound a bit off, it's because I've got the cold flu thing that's going around. So, that's why my voice may sound a bit different if it does. But here we are for the Monaco Grand Prix. Going to be a very interesting one, I'm sure, because it's Monaco. Anything interesting can happen in Monaco. And we've never won here. Never ever this series have we won at Monaco. We're going to try and see if we can beat that deadlock and actually win for the first time here. So, well, let's just see if there's any news first of all. Right, well, straight away we've got some news here. Ferrari confirms Stefano Domenicali is their commercial manager. So, there you go, you've heard it here first. We're not keeping Domenicali. He's one of the cost-cutting measures that I've enforced. So, Domenicali's gone. Statement from Jordan, I hope this isn't that they've confirmed Luca Padoa. Okay, Johnny Herbert. So Johnny Herbert is currently their test driver. They've now promoted him to driver 1, which makes sense to me, but there you go. So Johnny Herbert will be back in the race seat for next year. Luca Padoa is rumoured to go to Jordan. Now I hope he doesn't, because I'm thinking about having Luca Padoa. He's one of the drivers who I'm contemplating having on my team next year. And I'm going to decide the drivers I'm going to sign after the Monaco Grand Prix. So, any drivers that get signed between now and then, well, then it's just bad luck. But that's what I've got to watch out for. Ferrari, please don't tell me they've signed Luca Padoa. Oh, no, but they've got Frentzen as their test driver. That's controversial, that is. I know Frentzen hasn't been that quick so far this season. I'm driving at Ferrari, but Frentzen as a test driver, that's quite poor, I think. Frentzen is much better than deserving of a test driver role, but then again, Johnny Herbert just got a test driver role at Jordan. Well, he's just been promoted back to driver 1, but some interesting moves going on here then. Okay, so we have got some more rumours. Laurent Redon's rumoured to be going to BAR. And I think he already is BAR's test driver. Obviously, he was a race driver with them last year. Now, we got a new components deal for McLaren. AP brakes. Okay, so there's some hope for McLaren. They've got the joint best brakes, so that is a step in the right direction for McLaren. But then again, I think they've always had good brakes anyway. Statement from Arrows. We've got a lot of confirmations today. What's the first statement from them? Retaining Ekrim Sami as their commercial manager. Okay, nothing too amazing there. Another statement from Arrows. They're keeping Mark Smith as their chief designer. Now that is big news. Obviously, Mark Smith is the third best chief designer currently in Formula 1, which means Arrows have the third best chassis on the grid. And they're keeping him for next year, which means next year not only will they have the third best chassis, they're also basically they're going to be the third best team aerodynamically next year, and that is amazing, I think, for Arrows. And David Coulthard's rumoured to be going back to McLaren. Obviously, he's with us at the moment. Okay, so we have got some more news. Statement from BAR. Now, they're retaining Mike Gascoyne as their technical director. Obviously, they're impressed with Mike Gascoyne as their technical director. I wasn't really too impressed with him, but there you go. He's found a home at BAR. And BAR confirms Laurent Redon as driver 1. Right, well, Laurent Redon really... We saw him last year. He wasn't that good last year at BAR. He was... Apart from a couple of occasions, he wasn't that good. But BAR clearly think he's taken a year off to develop, and he'll be good next year. Clearly, if they're giving him the driver number 1 role anyway. Now McLaren confirms David Coulthard. Okay, so I know I've said about how Paul Stoddart has forced me to employ cost-cutting measures, and this is one of them. So David Coulthard will. Okay, I had to stop what I was saying there, because David Coulthard's going to be the driver number 1. Right, so that means Well, that means McLaren aren't going to have a former world champion as their driver number 1. Okay. Clearly they think David is good enough for driver number 1. I'm not saying he isn't, but interesting. But yeah, as I said, we've had to get rid of David Coulthard as part of cost-cutting measures that Paul Stoddart employed upon me. I mean, look, 10 million a year, that is a sizable sum, but I'm sad to see David Coulthard go, but of course we've still got him for the rest of the season, so we don't have to say goodbye to him just yet, because I don't really want to say goodbye to David Coulthard, to be honest. I just had to let him go because he's quite expensive. Oh my word, so many confirmations at the moment. Statement from McLaren. Retaining Andy Fleming as their chief designer. I think this is the 3rd year running that they'll be keeping him. And he's not one of the best designers. So I don't know why they keep on keeping him. But there's clearly something going on in Ron Dennis's head. That's why he's keeping him. The other statement from McLaren. Ricardo Zonta as driver number 2. That is an interesting move. I mean, Zonta, he hasn't done anything amazing this entire series. He's been one of these drivers which has just been in the background of all of these videos. He hasn't done anything amazing, but clearly McLaren think there's some potential in there for Zonta. I mean, there might be. Honestly, Ricardo Zonta might well have some potential. We haven't seen it yet, but that is a bold move for McLaren. We better hope that that risk does actually pay off for them, because Zonta might be good, but there's no proof of it at the moment. And also, 8 million a year, that is a lot to pay for a driver like Zonta. And a new component still for Stewart. Peugeot engines, they shouldn't get Peugeot engines. I'm waiting for a team to actually get a decent customer engine, because none of them seem to. Stewart again haven't got a decent customer engine. I mean, Peugeots are the second worst they can get, I think, so I don't know what's going on there. And at nearly 22 million a year, that's a hefty price to pay for some really poor engines. Again, we've got more news. This is astounding how much news we've had this episode. Prost confirms Rob Taylor as their chief designer. No, he's not with the team currently, so they're now removing their old chief designer. Who is it? I think it's Andrew Green as Prost's current chief designer, because Rob Green, is it Rob Green? No, is it Andrew Green? I can't remember his name. Wherever he is, the current designer at Prost, I know, is the worst designer in the game, apart from the EA employees that are also in there as well. But he's the worst Formula 1 designer in the game, so Prost have upgraded at least, so that is a good thing. Not by a massive amount, but they've upgraded to a better chief designer, so that is good news for them. Again, we've got more news. Components deal for BAR. Supertec engines, right. I can't remember what engines they're using at the minute. I feel like they're Petronas engines. I feel like they're a worse model of engine. Obviously, Supertec is what they started this series with in '99. It's good to see they're going back to Supertec engines, because Supertec engines aren't that bad. So it's good to see that they're upgrading again and going back to where they were. So that's good news for them at least. And it's much cheaper than Stewart got their Peugeot engines for as well. So overall, it's a very good deal in comparison to Stewart's. Okay, right, I thought there was some more news. I accidentally clicked 2 race, but here we are. The Monaco Grand Prix is going to be an exciting one. It's Monaco. I don't need to give it an introduction. Let's head on to the practice results. Well. I mean, these are some interesting practice results. I mean, BAR topping the session. Fisichella was actually 2 tenths quicker than Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. That is phenomenal performance from BAR and from Fisichella there. Lamarie's only a tenth behind Schumacher, so both BAR drivers are doing very, very well if they can sandwich Michael Schumacher. Jean Alesi, well, I should remind you, we've seen in the previous 2 years of this series, Arrows in qualifying and practice are very, very quick around Monaco. Jean Alesi's just proven that 4th place he's got in practice, 4th. That is phenomenal. Jacques Villeneuve just buying a 5th. And Marc Genet, 6th in practice at Monaco. You try and tell me he's a bad driver now. You try and tell me Genet's a bad driver when he's finished ahead of a Ferrari driven by Heinz, Harald, Frentzen. That's phenomenal for Genet. I'm really proud of him. And he's not too far off. Oh no, actually his lap time is quite a way off Jean Alesi's. But we've seen the Arrows has been fantastic at Monaco and nowhere else. So it's probably just a false alarm, but still, that's good. Not so good for us. Mika Häkkinen in 11th and David Coulthard in 15th. Now, something I should remind you is, last year we discovered that an in-lap, so when you go into the pits, that's a quicker lap. So it's I don't know whether it's a glitch or a cheat that Arrows found, because Arrows exploit it to hell, as you can see here. But Arrows found it in 99, and then we discovered it last year. If you go into the pits, that still counts as a lap time, and it's actually quicker to go into the pits and finish your lap there than it is to go round the last corner and finish your lap the proper way. And we didn't do a quick in lap. In fact, we didn't actually do a quick lap, but all these laps were on hold position, so there is more time to gain, definitely. Whether we'll be in the top 6, I don't know, because at the minute, that is actually looking worryingly optimistic, considering in the past 3 rounds and in pre-season testing we've had the quickest car. That's quite worrying. And I'll tell you something that is interesting though, Damon Hill in the Stewart in last. That is poor. I mean, Mika Salo's only in 14th, but Damon Hill last. Former world champion in by no means the worst car on the grid. And when his dad, I believe his dad had quite a good record around here. I believe his dad won 3 times around Monaco. And his son isn't really following in his footsteps at the moment, last in practice, but practice doesn't really mean much. As qualifying, that really means something, so let's get into it. Now, if there's a track that can throw up a surprise, it's Monte Carlo, and this has got to be the most surprising qualifying session in the past 3 years, and it's quite phenomenal, so let's go through the results. Amazingly, despite Minardi and Ferrari's very strong start to the season, it's BAR who take a 1-2 at Monte Carlo, with Giancarlo Fisichella taking pole position and his teammate Patrick Lamarie lining up right beside him in 2nd place. And both BAR showed promise in practice, and they've been reasonably competitive throughout the season, and despite them using quite underpowered engines, as we know, engine power doesn't matter too much at Monaco. It's all about a great chassis and great aerodynamics, and BAR clearly have that to take a 1-2 at Monaco. Lining up right behind is Michael Schumacher in 3rd place in the Ferrari, who is the only other person alongside the BARs to do a sub 1 minute 20 lap. But what is telling is how the 3 times world champion, who absolutely dominated qualifying last year, wasn't able to beat the BARs, and if he can't beat the BARs, I don't think anyone can. Jean Alesi in the Arrows is in 4th place. Now, Arrows historically have been fantastic at this track. I don't know whether it's their aero setup or their gear ratios or whatever, but Arrows seem to be tailored to this track more than any other track. And with Jean Alesi being a fantastic driver, he's been able to drag the Arrows to 4th place. That's phenomenal. Right up behind Jean Alesi is Jarno Trulli in the Jordan, who, again, the Jordan have a very underpowered engine, only using a Ford Z-Tech, but clearly have a very strong aerodynamic package and chassis, and that's shown as Jarno Trulli's been able to get 5th, although by contrast his teammate is way down in 11th. Finally, Mika Häkkinen, who's been the quickest driver clearly this year so far, set a lap time identical to the 1000th to Jarno Trulli, but unfortunately the race stewards decided that Jarno Trulli should take 5th place and not Mika Häkkinen. But we've seen Häkkinen, he's been a phenomenal driver. He qualified quite poorly in the 99 race and then still came through to grab many points. So I'm sure he can do a similar thing today, especially as he's starting in the top 6. Heinz Frentzen in the other Ferrari is 7th, with Marc Genet in the other Arrows a very impressive 8th. Both Benettons are 9th and 10th, with Sarrazin the quickest, and Della Rosa is down in 11th, way off of his teammate Jarno Trulli. Häkkönen's teammate David Coulthard is quite a way behind us. He's down 12th place, which is quite shocking considering the dominance we've seen from Minardi this season. Behind Coulthard is both Stewarts of Salo and Hill, with Salo the quickest of the two. Then it's both Prost of Panis and Zanardi, then both Saubers of Wurz and Deniz. The back two rows are a very interesting back two rows, as they're teams which you would never ever have expected to find near the back a few years ago. In 19th place it's the Williams of Stephen Watson, but last year we did see that the Williams again wasn't very strong at Monaco, so clearly the Williams is just not suited to a low speed track like this. In 20th place it's Jacques Villeneuve, as McLaren's struggles continue throughout the season, despite Villeneuve being very quick in practice weirdly. 21st is Ralf Schumacher, and lining up at the back of the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix is Eddie Irvine in the McLaren in 22nd place. Okay, so hey guys, and as you can see, we're on the race strategy screen here, a one-stop strategy. Obviously such low fuel usage around Monaco, and track position is vital. You don't want to be doing multiple stops, especially when we've got quite a few places to make up. I mean, Jean Alesi in the Arrows, he's going to drop down. As we've seen, historically, the Arrows has been very quick in practice and qualifying, and then nowhere in the race. The same thing may well happen to the Jordan of Jarno Trulli, and David Coulthard should also make up some places from that. But the pace of the BARs and the Ferrari has really worried me, especially as Frentzen's just behind as well. We can't discard him, especially as he's ahead of David Coulthard as well. It's going to be a very interesting race, so let's head on into it. So as you can see, David Coulthard in 12th place, surrounded by a Jordan and a Stewart, and well, we better see how well this race goes. I mean, we typically see a pile-up around the slow corners, Lowe's hairpin, or even just getting off the start-finish line as a pile-up. Fisichella and his teammate are just going to shoot away. They won't have to stop for anyone, because there's always a massive train at Lowe's hairpin, and they're not going to get caught up in that at all. The further ahead you are, then the much you get. It's so vital, track position here, especially when you get trains formed at the start. I mean, look, there's the Arrows of Genet, and the Benettons can't even think about getting past him because it's just a sheer concertina effect. Look at Lowe's hairpin. They just stop. Absolutely stop dead, and it's ridiculous, but I mean, that's why qualifying is important, and obviously it's important in the real-life Monaco Grand Prix. It's still vitally important here. Mika Häkkinen's in 6th place, and I'm sure once we got a few laps and we're going to stop just piling up and waiting for the other cars ahead to get around Lowe's hairpin, I'm sure we'll actually see some overtakes being made, and Häkkinen can hopefully challenge for a podium place. Because both BARs seem untouchable, absolutely untouchable. I mean, Schumacher's right behind Lamarie there, and you know, Schumacher may be able to make an impact, but I don't know. I mean, they've been very quick so far. And I reckon we would be able to make an impact if we were closer, but obviously, I mean, the only cars stopping Häkkinen from getting to Schumacher is Alesi and Trulli. We should be able to get past those guys relatively easily because they should have very little race pace, but we'll have to see how that goes. As you can see, another pile-up. I mean, this game is comedic when it tries to be realistic. When it's so obviously unrealistic like this, it's just great. And I don't know who's ahead of both Benettons. I think it's Marc Genet, but he's absolutely shot away from both Benettons. That is something to keep in mind. Genet shot away from both Benettons. He has actually. Wow. Genet has pulled away 8 seconds from both Benettons in a lap around Monaco. Mick Hackenen's up into 5th place. Right, and as I've already mentioned in previous videos, well, in the last video rather, I'm still looking for good drivers. I haven't signed my drivers yet. I'm looking for good drivers. So, Genet pulling away by 8 seconds there, that shows potential. And we're scything our way through the field quicker than I ever thought we would. We're close up to Fisichella, and Hakkinen is now leading the Monaco Grand Prix. 7 laps. That's impressive. David Coulthard's also up into the points. Trulli is still holding 5th place. That's very impressive from him. Right, just had to take a drink there. David Coulthard still in 6th place. But as I say, I'm looking out for good drivers. After this Grand Prix, I'm going to be signing the drivers. So, Lamarie, definite contender. Sarlo is a contender, but we saw Sarlo's fantastic last year. And he's still definitely outpacing Damon Hill. But can I trust him? I mean, he hasn't been that quick this series. I can't think of any, well, not this season, I mean. I can't think of any standout moment this season. Lamarie's doing amazing. Trulli, I'll be honest, is holding on in very well, actually. That is commendable. Genet's fallen way down, actually. Down in 17th, but the fact he pulled out such a big gap on the Benettons is phenomenal. And we've got a Minardi 1-2. As I said, we've never won at Monaco this series, and we're now currently in a position to get a 1-2. Trulli is just behind Coulthard. Trulli's overtaken Coulthard. Where has this pace come from Trulli? Trulli, as we know, historically has been very quick in qualifying, and then the race is nowhere. But look, he's catching up to Hakkinen. Jarno Trulli in the Jordan is catching up to Mika Hakkinen. I can't stress this enough. This is unheard of performance. How on earth is he doing this? He's catching up a rate of about 1.5 seconds a lap. Frentzen's out of a driver error. Okay, we've seen Frentzen hasn't been that electrically quick this series. How is Trulli doing this? Where's he found this pace from? Maybe it's because I don't know. Although we are pulling away from him by several seconds a lap now, about 5 seconds a lap. Okay, but that pace we saw from Trulli there was phenomenal. He's still ahead of David Coulthard, let's not forget, and Coulthard is by no means a bad driver, as we saw recently in the Race of Champions. Lost out in the semi-finals just to Sebastian Vettel, who ended up winning it. So as we saw in the Race of Champions this year, Coulthard is a good driver, and even last year, which I didn't watch, Coulthard won it. And that's shown how good of a driver Coulthard is. He's got past Trulli, although, there is a massive scrap going on between Trulli and Coulthard here. Massive. 4 tenths of a gap between them. While this has happened, De La Rosa's out of a driver error, and Genet. Such a promising start. He's now out of a driver error. I reckon that driver error alone from Genet means I'm not going to get him as my driver for next year. Or one of my 2 drivers for next year. Or one of my 3, obviously. Got a test driver as well. But I mean, where is Lamarie? Lamarie in 7th. Although he's losing places to Eddie Irvine. Eddie Irvine starting in last. And where is he now? In 8th. Oh, wow. Well, Schumacher's out of a driver error. Okay, basically anyone is out of a driver error at this race. Sure, this is a difficult track to drive, but anyone who's out of a driver error, I'm instantly discounting as getting as a driver for next year. And now, well, I mean, we've got a... Jarno Trulli's performance, honestly, I am now seriously considering getting Jarno Trulli as a driver. He's been so close to David Coulthard on pace. And in qualifying he was phenomenal as well. How Trulli's doing this in the Jordan, which is so much worse than the Minardi. Sure, the Jordan has got the second best chassis on the grid, but it's got worse brakes, worse electronics, worse engine. And I assumed Coulthard would have been a bit of a better driver than Trulli, but how is Trulli doing this? He's absolute... I do not know how he's doing this. But anyway, we've never won at Monaco. That's guaranteed. We're going to win at Monaco. We've never been able to do that this series. And we're going to... This is a really big occasion. Winning at Monaco is a big deal. But a 1-2 at Monaco, and considering we've never ever, this entire series, been quick around Monaco. Never. I'm trying to get it so on the last lap. There we go. We got to see Mika Hakkinen take a historic race win. As you can see, he's about to lap Trulli and Coulthard. So actually, what we're following Häkkinen, we can actually follow the battle between Trulli and Coulthard. But as you can see, Häkkinen, a phenomenal drive, came from 6th place in qualifying to 1st, and he jumped from 6th to 1st within 7 laps, and we saw the BARs and Michael Schumacher were electrically quick in qualifying, the only 3 guys to do a sub 120 lap. We couldn't even dream of doing a sub 120 lap. That doesn't really matter though, because in the race, look how quick we are now. We're about to, well, I mean, Häkkinen's about to lap his teammate. Although obviously you gotta go very slow around these last 2 corners, especially in this game, and especially when you're being held up by Trulli and Coulthard. But Mika Häkkinen's going to come around the last corner, and he's going to get a win for Minardi Mercedes at Monaco. Well, that is a fantastic drive for Mika Häkkinen. Winning at Monaco, that is amazing. Wow, David Coulthard still just about ahead of Jarno Trulli, but he's being held up by a Benetton backmarker. We'll have to hope he gets out of the way very soon. But yeah, Villeneuve's have a suspension failure and Trulli's got past Coulthard. We gotta tell Coulthard to risk everything. There's only half a lap left. We got to tell Coulthard to risk absolutely everything. If we can get on board from Coulthard. Look how quick Trulli's been. Trulli's been the only driver this season, apart from Michael Schumacher, to genuinely outpace a Minardi. The only driver, only Schumacher's done it, and Schumacher's a 3-time world champion in a Ferrari. I mean, I do not know what to say. This pace from Trulli is phenomenal. Don't tell me Jarno Trulli's going to take 2nd place. No way. I really am going to have to seriously consider him. Look, he's just got past a Benetton. Even Coulthard couldn't get past a Benetton. That was a fantastic overtake. I mean, technically he was lapping him, but that was a fantastic overtake from Trulli. And he's going to take 2nd place. Thoroughly deserved, because he's absolutely made Coulthard look like a mug that race. Wow. I really am going to have to seriously consider Trulli as a driver for next year. That performance alone was phenomenal. But we got Michael Schumacher in 4th. Fisichella 5th. Where's Lamourie? He's been passed by Eddie Irvine. Eddie Irvine qualified in last, and he's in 6th. I know, Lamourie in the race hasn't been that electric. And finished outside the points. Do we really want Lamourie as a driver then? I'm going to have to think about this. I won't make the driver decision straight away, but be sure to leave in the comments, guys, who you want me to get as a race driver for next year. I mean, truly, this race deserves a seat. Sarlo was fantastic last year. Sarrazin, I was beaten by Barrichello this race, but in previous races we've seen him. Imola, he did very well actually. Padua, he's clearly in demand. There was rumours that Jordan were going to snap him up. I mean, Chenet was doing very well in the first lap of this race. There's quite a few drivers I've got to bear in mind. I won't make this decision straight away, so you guys can leave in the comments who you want me to get. Remember, someone cheap, but someone good. So, you guys can put that down in the comments, and yeah, I'll read those comments, and I'll make sure, well, I'll make my decision before the start of the next episode, so that's something for you guys to do in the comments. Anyway, here's a message we've been waiting a long time for. Minardi win at Monte Carlo, Monaco. That is the win to beat all wins. You can win at your home race, you can win at Spa, at Monza. That's good. To win at Monaco is a different league, and now to say that Minardi, we've finally done that, that is a big objective done. So think about the fame, the glory Minardi are going to get from winning Monaco. Never mind when we win a championship or two at the end of the season, which we should do at the moment. Winning at Monaco is almost as big of a deal and in fact, damn nearly claiming a 1-2, when Mika Hakkinen took the checker flag ahead of Jarno Trulli. Jarno Trulli really has made a name for himself here. Really has. But then again, he made a name for himself in the real-life 2004 Monaco Grand Prix as well, Trulli, but that was through Button not being able to overtake Trulli. This race was from genuine race pace from Trulli and qualifying pace. Well, there you go. Well, okay, that message. All these emails, I'm sure I'll pretend to read them later on down the line. Next race, Spain, Catalonia, where we've had our pre-season testing, and we were the quickest in pre-season testing by a landslide. We even beat Ferrari's pre-season testing record from 2000. On those grounds alone, I don't think we've got a lot to worry about, but as it says there, Fizzy Keller holds the race lap record, and he's at BAR, which is a very, very quick and competitive car. We've got to watch out for him. If he's the race lap record holder, and he's in a very quick car, you cannot discount him. But anyway, just before I go, we'll check the driver standings. Mika Hakkinen, 11 points ahead of Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard is now on only just over half the points of Michael Schumacher. Obviously, Coulthard lost out on 2 points when Trulli overtook him. And as you can see, Trulli only 1 point behind Lamarie in the standings. Trulli is ahead of Fizzy Keller in the standings. That is impressive. Trulli, really, I know I keep on saying it, I've got to consider him as a driver, but there's a long list of drivers I'm personally considering as a driver, so. But there you go, driver standings. Regardless, it's looking great for us in the Drivers' Championship with Mika Hakkinen. Coulthard also can easily, let's say Hakkinen, let's just say, I don't know, he got injured mid-season. That's not possible in this game, but if he did, Coulthard could easily pick up the slack and overtake Schumacher easily. I mean, he beat him in this race alone, so Coulthard's capable of winning the Drivers' Championship. But when you got a third of the points of your teammate, Constructors' standings, over double the points ahead of Ferrari. I don't think I need to say much apart from the fact I think we're pretty safe in the Constructors' Championship. I mean, look, BAR third, Jordan fourth. Jordan only 1 point behind BAR. And Trulli's contributed to most of those points at Jordan, but Lamarie's contributed to most of those points at BAR. I think De La Rosa and Lamarie have a similar amount of... No, De La Rosa and Fizzy Keller have a similar amount of points in the Drivers' Championship. Do they actually? Yeah, the exact same amount of points, and Lamarie's 1 point ahead of Trulli. Manager ratings, I'm still the highest rated manager. Craig Pollock, second, I can't blame him for that. What about Tom Walkinshaw in the middle? Okay, I think he should get a higher rating than that after the practice and qualifying pace Arrows had, although it was expected because of history in this series. And Eddie Jordan, fourth best manager, surely he should be rated higher than Ron Dennis. Sure, Ron Dennis, you know, in the previous Grand Prix, Eddie Irvine came from last to 6th, was it? Which is impressive, but Villeneuve had a suspension failure, the only car failure in the entire race. Can you really rate Eddie Jordan behind Ron Dennis because of that? Eddie Jordan, I mean, well, I don't know. Maybe you say Trulli was a standout one there, and it was nothing to do with the car or the team, but anyway, as I've already said, the Spanish Grand Prix, my second favourite track on the calendar, that's another thing to add, and I'm really looking forward to that race. We were phenomenal in pre-season testing. Can we be phenomenal for the real life, well, for the Spanish Grand Prix? So, well, I look forward to seeing you guys for that race, and, well, I'll see you then.